Hey, peace and blessings, family. How y'all doing? Welcome to, this is me and Barry's little, we're trying to get it on these politics and have these real conversations. I'm just saying, inside that black experience.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean?
Just being honest.
Yeah, just being honest.
Connecting with the black experience.
Right. Thank you, Barry.
We're going to definitely jump into a lot of different things, political things. We're going to definitely deal with, for we know your folks who need to be entertained. We're going to talk about the entertainment part of Negroes, the community part of Negroes, and we're going to have guests. We're going to have other folks in here in our live podcasts. We've kind of been doing it, but this is kind of like the intro of what we're going to be doing as far as a series, and it'll be a weekly series. We don't know the time frame because we was trying to do Wednesday at 10, but because of how certain things happen, just bear with us, black folk. You know how it be. You know, we had to kind of change up things, but we're going to be here really giving you guys a real honest outlook and a truthful conversation. Mama Ro and I have been doing a lot of community work, and we've done a lot of work in our communities and on so many different levels with young men and young women, as well as adults. So we said, let's go ahead and have our conversation go to a bigger platform and talk to our people and have some real engaging conversation about the things that you guys want to talk about and some of the things that some of you Negroes aren't talking about.
That's what's up. You
like
did a
that?
great intro.
Like
I like that.
Don't ask me again, but
I'm in here setting it up.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna jump right into it. It's Black History Month.
Ooh.
What is it? Even though I'll take the month. I think yesterday I told you I would take the month. It's
28
okay.
days.
Well, it's the whole year for me, but I'll take the month. It's kind of like saying, I got so many days off, and then they give you a month off or a week off, so I'll take the week too. But tell me what you thinking about this Black History Month? I learned about Black History. I am Black History. I mean, we are all Black History.
365.
All year long.
365. From a standpoint of it, I believe it's a powerful and is a good thing. But the reality of it, I don't think that we engage it the way we engage Christmas. We don't engage it like the way we engage Easter, Thanksgiving, all of those other European holidays that have been given to us that we run with, that we'll argue up and down. Valentine's Day, that's actually in the same month of, think about it, we got two holidays in Black History Month.
That's real talk.
The Super Bowl, we're going to talk about that. And you have, actually three, the Super Bowl, President's Day, and Valentine's Day.
Yeah, because the next 2 Mondays, schools is out.
Exactly. So you really can't discuss Black history in a way or celebrate it in a way that you do. But I've seen this new kind of rush for a lot of folks, corporate folks, to kind of really attach themselves to dealing with and talking about Black history. And the one thing that I get frustrated about, and I think that us, because we don't control the narrative of what Black history looks like, every time we talk about Black history is now Martin Luther King or Obama.
Oh, because they always select who they think we should know about, which
That's
is
it.
usually the people that's kind of like, if they're picking your leaders for you, that should tell you something right there. That's how they keep winning the game.
Yes.
Because we over here on Obama, which we get ready to get duped again. Hopefully not.
I'm just saying. Because it's just being honest.
Yeah.
When you hear Black history, the first person they put out there is Martin Luther King.
Yeah,
and it's all respect and praise to my brother. But we celebrated him in January. And then the second person now they put out is Obama. And now
he's the dream. He's the culmination.
He's the culmination of the dream, right? When we're still living the nightmare.
Right.
The most important piece to me is, what do we do as Black people to celebrate all of the other true pioneers that set the stage for the Martin Luther Kings, for the Obamas? Why don't we say this is what Black history really looks like? And then on top of that, why isn't Black history being taught in the school year round so we don't have to have a month, 28 days clogged in to say, here is your history? You don't even want to talk about the real Black history when it's time to talk about Black history. You get what I'm saying?
Right on. Now, Barry, so in looking at that, how does Black businesses who struggle all year long, how do we make this Black history every day?
Ooh. I'm doing a 28-day supporting all Black restaurants. So if I am not going to make my own food, I am going to go to a Black restaurant here in Sacramento. Right now we live in Sacramento, but if I have to go outside, I'm going to. And I'm going to tell you right now, Queen, it was a difficult task for me to figure out what I wanted to eat on a Tuesday. And there are some selections, but sometimes you have a taste for something, right? Something taste something, and you're like, I want this. And sometimes all the restaurants ain't as good as you want them to be, or as good as your home cooking could be. And when I had to really drive from place to place, and places that we have black businesses that are restaurants are in different areas. It's not like I could go on Stockton Boulevard and I could see a string of Asian restaurants, or I go to Franklin Boulevard and I can see a string of Latino, Spanish, Mexican restaurants. I got to really go ahead and find it. I got to Google. I got to call somebody. I got to really drive. So the difficulty is that Negroes don't have a natural, real base to be able to support certain things because we don't have enough of it. So when we're talking about an area like Sacramento, there isn't a lot of black restaurants, right? Compared to like a place like DC, compared to New York, compared to Atlanta. And the different kind of quality, sometimes you want a higher end kind of restaurant, not just kind of like the restaurant that's in the hood, which are great, don't get me wrong, but sometimes we want a different experience where we can like, okay, sit down, have a day. You know, some folks are just doing enough to be able to pay for the restaurant building itself compared to just the food costs and everything else like that. So it's a difficult thing for us to be able to engage in what does this look like, because we don't have, one, enough, and two, we don't support it to grow. We don't support restaurants or other black businesses. It's almost kind of like we're the only culture that has to say support black businesses. I don't hear people say support Asian business. I don't hear that.
Why do you think that is, man?
Programming, psychologically. I think psychologically we have been so far removed from the ideology of blackness to this European idea of if it's not white, it's not right.
So, for instance, it's Black History Month, right, y'all? I was at the school and somebody was telling me that they're making theirs Multicultural Month. No, I'm not
Just
kidding.
being honest?
Just being honest. Just being honest.
Wait a minute.
Inside the black experience.
We can't even have Black History
That's
Month.
what I said. It's 28 days. You mean we can't celebrate black people for 28 days without including all the other groups?
Someone just said this to you.
I'm dead serious. At a school. So, I'm sorry. I just got silence here. But I really think that's a problem.
That's a big problem.
Whenever they have Latino month, whatever, they don't be trying like, let's make sure there's more black people in Latin America than there are here in the United States. But you don't get to know that black people are in Latin America because you think everybody in Latin America is, more conquistadors ancestry or whatever, and not necessarily me too. And so, you know what I'm saying? So I just feel like, wow, that's kind of deep. Which brings me to this thing of the Super Bowl. That's also in Black History Month. It's the Super Bowl.
Another holiday, right?
And the boycotting. Now, everybody know on my post, I'm not into football. I'm not trying to clown. I'm not into sports like that. I'm just not that kind of person. However, what I will say is, I watch people put all this energy into boycotting. It's funny. Some of the people who boycotted, they didn't miss them no way. But that's a whole other story. But it's like, we'll talk about boycotting the NFL for the treatment of the player, right? Even though all the rest of the players and some of them who are clearly black are out there playing, right? On the other hand, we got reality TV shows that we need to boycott immediately because they are killing the brain cells of black folks, and particularly black women, because I work with a lot of girls, and you be thinking you could tell they watch reality shows all day long.
Don't be honest.
Yeah,
Stop being honest, Queen.
Because they'll be like, that's what I see Nene do. Like, Nene, this is scripted, y'all. Okay. This is scripted. This ain't reality.
Okay.
You don't see her worry about paying bills and stuff like that. I'm just saying. No doubt. Come on now. Talk to me about the Super Bowl.
Here's the thing about the Super Bowl, and this is the honest truth for folks that have been gung-ho about the Super Bowl boycott, and I'm not watching Super Bowl because of Colin Kaepernick. I remember I was talking to my OG, and he said, Colin Kaepernick never asked Negroes to sit there and boycott. This is one. Secondly, we have to look at who's really doing the boycott of impact. Now, they say in the reports that the Super Bowl was down as far as ratings, right? The ratings of Super Bowl was probably the lowest it's been in so many years. I think the lowest one they had before that was Pittsburgh versus Arizona Cardinals, right? When Pittsburgh Steelers won. Now, I want to help Negroes out because Negroes want to take credit and act as if that's what they did, the impact of the Super Bowl. Y'all didn't do nothing. When you have a team like the Patriots that nobody really wants to see because they're sick of Tom Brady winning and they're sick of the Patriots winning and they just saw him last year and the year before, right? This is the real talk. They done seen them 3 straight times in the Super Bowl. So they're like, we done with that, right? Turn around and also have the upstart LA Rams. They just moved from St. Louis to the LA. So when you think about it, their fan base hasn't really been cultivated in LA yet. St. Louis is like, we ain't accepting them no more, so we no longer Ram fans because LA stole it from us. And LA, there's a lot of stuff going on in LA. You got the Lakers, you got the Clippers, you got the Dodgers, you got the hockey team, you got all of Hollywood, you got the Grammys coming. So folks have not really embraced the LA Rams just yet. Now, taking all those things into consideration, how can Negroes tell me that they put a dent in the Super Bowl when the NFL ratings was at its all-time high in the regular season? Playoffs, regular seasons, their ratings were through the roof. So if the boycott was working, the ratings would have been down through the season. It was the teams that were in the Super Bowl people weren't wanting to watch. And then on top of that, because of social media, once you're hitting it and saying, this game is 3-3, I'm not watching no more, people start falling off. So it wasn't that black people took a stand and said, we not performing, we're not going to show up. Negroes watched the game. The problem is that until the players, hear me out, until the players decide to say, we are not playing in the game, black people who make a small percentage, as well as we don't have any corporations or companies that can affect the status quo, meaning I don't own Nike, and so I'm upset that they are not allowing Colin Kaepernick to go back in. Nike is a big player in this whole NFL game. I'm pulling out. No, we don't have that. So that's why it becomes an issue for me to see Negroes saying that we as the fans or the citizens have to move out and not watch the game and boycott when it should really be the players.
Now, Barry, here's the other part of this. Some people are going to get mad, but I really don't care. I think we got to talk about this riding along because this is the issues of blacks. If some brothers who look like you, Barry, had did that, we would be like, I wish this nigga would go to work. Now, let's just be honest. Why is he holding up Project Group or whatever? But there was something else about besides Colin Kaepernick that made everybody jump on board. Maybe because he was biracial. We know that colorism exists in black America. We have Rosa Parks. We think she was the first person. No, it was a black woman who was fully black who stood up, who was a teen parent. But, she didn't fit the profile. And so we didn't support her. Yeah. But we supported Rosa Parks. Yes. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's a little bit more than just, and I get some players is like, I'm good with this. Because I'm buying up whole blocks of neighborhoods like our boy Marshawn Lynch. Yeah, so so this brother's doing stuff with their money, and to me, that's more impactful than I get the knee thing. I always feel like, and I'm not saying it's okay to kill black people. That's not what I'm saying. If it was Negroes, always get to hear this twist in this. Are you trying to say, yeah, y'all, but come on, y'all gonna join the police force? I mean, what about really saying, hey, I'm concerned about the police. I'm gonna be a part of that and police my own community. I mean, what about some of those solutions? You know what I mean? What about the Negro leagues? Why ain't y'all starting Snoop and them all had their little football leagues? Why ain't y'all go support them?
Listen, don't go in there deep. And that goes into the volume when people were showing pictures of like LeBron James, and I'm a LeBron James guy, Kevin Durant. Let me tell you the funny thing that is hilarious, and even with Cardi B. LeBron James was at LeBron James actually was at a LA Rams game. He was at the playoff game against the Dallas Cowboys. And he's a big Dallas Cowboy fan. And LeBron James is a Laker, a Laker now, but he was at the game. So if you're really making a stand talking about boycotting, then you're not going to show up to the game. You get what I'm talking about? Cardi B, who said she wasn't going to perform, her commercial on Pepsi was one of the commercials on the Super Bowl. So if you really want to talk about boycott, you're going to sit there and say, Pepsi, I'm not going to do this commercial, or I don't want you to push my commercial on during Super Bowl. So when we talk about how niggas want to boycott, the boycotting to me, it's not only trendy, but the reality is not only has the NFL forgotten why Colin Kaepernick did the kneeling, the Negro has forgotten about what Colin Kaepernick did the kneeling, because we're more concerned about if Colin Kaepernick gets the job compared to being concerned that there's still black folks dying. Real talk. Alabama just had that shooting at the mall. They just sat there and said, okay, the officer that shot the black guy in the mall, that was okay. They just basically said, you know what, he's not going to get charged. Now, when you look at that, and I don't hear no Negro talking about that, boosting their social media access to talk about how the hell did this Alabama police officer get away for killing a black male who was allegedly a suspect getting shot in the back and wasn't the suspect. See, these are the kind of things that I really look at, and I ask the framework of what we do. It becomes such a trendy thing. We come into these moments just like anything else. We get hot for a minute, we get upset for a minute, and then we want to sit there and chastise individuals. And when they're watching sports or when they're doing something, when we should be boycotting not only the reality TV shows, we should be boycotting the Grammys. That Alicia Keys is out there doing her piano commercials to tell niggas to watch. We should be boycotting the Oscars after what they did to Kevin Hart. Right. And this is what Jada Pinkett had said a few years ago, and niggas got the apology and came right back. So don't tell me about a boycott. Don't explain to me about what it is and how it's not, because it's not a reality. Why?
Because is the boycott, though?
The boycott is when everybody is all in and shuts down whatever entity they're trying to boycott. And here's why I say it goes back to the players, Queen. Again, Negro, hear me clear. And we need to be clear with this. We don't have any big corporation that's tied to the NFL, so we have no say-so. We don't have any black ownership in the NFL, so we have no say-so. NFL operates on corporate, right? Not on fan, but corporate. Now, do the fans play a minute phase to that? Yes, because they don't want bad press. So they're not going to sit there and go ahead and do things that are going to navigate to be negative. But here is a contradiction when we talk about the NFL, and I know why people are hot. They had the audacity to talk about social justice
during the Super Bowl.
During the Super Bowl.
Dang.
I think Bernice King, she did the coin toss. And we're talking about social justice when we have a brother that has been blackballed. But this is not necessarily about a black thing. In reality, it's also about controversy. Just to move away from what I feel the NFL has shaped to be. The controversy is this. Remember Tim Tebow, the little white dude who was a Christian. He was praying on the field. He was the original kneeler. He was praying on the field. He was kneeling. He was talking about Christ and the Latter-day Saints and everything. The NFL didn't like that because religion mixed in business never makes good business. Yeah. Tim Tebow had a pocket where the NFL was captured and trapped, and they felt uncomfortable. As soon as they had that moment to kick that white boy out of there, he was out of there because they don't want to deal with religion. Then you have the gay football player.
Oh, he was
girl, he was out of there as fast as you can talk around him. Now, this exposes a lot of what the NFL doesn't want you to see.
I get
that gay piece, right? That homosexuality piece. Mm-hmm. Now he come into the league. More Negroes who are on the down low, they are going to be exposed because we have a homosexual that is basically saying, I'm free, and it's all praise to him doing that and being a vanguard. But the NFL didn't like that either. So they're like, okay, draft this Negro. We're going to have to go through this little storm for a little bit, but as soon as you can cut him and say he ain't good enough, cut him. He's gone. So the thing about the NFL is controversy does not win for them, and that's why they did what they did with Colin Kaepernick. We don't want to deal with social justice. We don't want to have to deal with these kind of different things because they've never wanted to deal with it, just like they don't want to have to deal with the massive abuse of women in their league. This is the reason why with the Me Too movement, they're now, okay, you're out the league. We don't even care how talented you are. You're out the league. We're sorry. We wish we could kind of throw you and put you in a place where no one would pay attention, but too many people are paying attention. So now that becomes a trend. But you got to understand, if the Negro who is in the games don't boycott, it will do nothing for us to boycott. Period.
All right, so I got you with that. But here's the thing. Don't you think sometimes, Barry, that we're just in love with being included?
Well, yeah.
I mean, we'll try to integrate the Klan if we could. Oh, it did have a film about that. I mean, I'm just saying in terms of, like, we just had the State of the Union address.
Oh.
You know, and we were all excited. And look,
you see how many people, all the white boys, everything he said they was clapping at.
Yeah, because he's on their team.
I just was like,
and he's cleared.
That was like this quick.
About him, he's clear.
Every 2 minutes and walk.
Right.
I mean, I was like, this is crazy.
But you know what the other thing about it is? But he's clear to his base.
Yes.
He ain't flip-floppy like black politicians are. You know, a lot of them are flipper-floppy. I'd rather talk to the white boy and try to get him to sincerely agree to something.
Yes.
But a Negro don't even see me, and Lord forbid if we talking about something with black folks. That's going to require you to say black and to offer up something to black people. You're not going to get that.
You know what was strategic about the things that he did? To play to the black base, right? To show that he's not a man of prejudice, or he hasn't pushed this racist tone. He sat there and brought out, he said, the clemency that he gave to the two black folks that was in prison, a woman and the male. Yeah, you didn't see that part? Oh, well played, Mr. 45, aka the Pussy Grabber. Well played. He put those folks. It was like the beginning of his speech, and he talked about what is it? I want to say the SAFE Act or something like that. Whatever prison reform that he kind of has a back behind. That he sat there and he talked about their plight and said how they shouldn't have to be in prison for the rest of their lives and how they should be free. And the woman stood up and then the man stood up and they had a standing ovation. And I said, that dude is a true negotiator and true hustler of his base. Because now the Negro can't run back and sit there and say, well, you know, he's not doing something for black folk, because that's what black folks say.
Well, it was like when George Bush kissed Oprah Winfrey. That's how I knew he was going to beat Gore. Because Gore said he didn't kiss nobody but Tipper. So when he went on Oprah's show, he didn't kiss Oprah. But when George W. Bush went on there, you know George W. Bush, he actually kissed Oprah right in the mouth. And I said, this man's going to be president.
He kissed Michelle Obama in the mouth too now.
Right, but what I'm saying is that he'll do whatever it takes.
Yes.
It's just a damn kiss.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I'm saying if it's just to say, hey, let's tout this black man and black woman out here, y'all free, it'll have a whole bunch of people like, I don't know about immigration because damn it, I'm trying to get my cousin Woozy out of jail.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we don't want to talk about that because we know that for black, it almost makes me feel like sometimes that you could just play to us in any kind of thing because you know we have so-called people. We have people who are black who are politicians, or so-called black who are politicians,
and
gatekeepers, and they never have to speak to us ever.
Yeah, that's true. Because I mean, if you think about it, when you talk about, my thing is, if I'm disgruntled, if I feel that I don't agree with what you know, the executive or whoever's in the place of power, let's talk about our president, what he's saying, I'm not going to show up to the State of the Union. I'm going to boycott that. And when we talk about the theme of boycotting, I'm going to sit there and say to myself, I'm not showing up. I'm going to show solidarity with the base that is against him and not show up. I'm going to make sure that there's a whole bunch of empty chairs right there. The seating will be empty in that spot. Or go, and when he shows up, walk out as soon as he's on stage and walk out as a protest, like we're not feeling what you're saying. But you had Negroes staying in pocket. Yeah, folks was probably nodding off and some folks were disinterested.
Oh, his grandson was asleep.
Oh, it's not that. But I mean, that's a little young boy. Everybody in the reality stayed to watch. You could have easily showed a testimony of solidarity and power by standing up, walking out. We would have been talking about that for days and still watched it outside and see what he had to say. You didn't have to necessarily be inside the State of the Union. So I don't really see what these Democrats and Republicans, and again, for you Negroes who continue to think that you are a Republican, you're a Democrat, kill yourself, because we're neither. You know, so all of this talk that, you know, these sides are going to help this side, they're all destroying us. They're all for the 1%ers, and I don't think that we can navigate in this way any longer, but we continue to do so.
So we know we can't use these people tools to dismantle their house. Like, come on. And you're never
you don't think we
going to
can use their money?
Well, you can use it to build your own. I don't know about dismantle it. Leave them their own stuff. See, the other thing is every group come here and get their own stuff going. Let's just be honest, but we don't want to no, we want to be next to you. We want to be, it's like, who wants to be next to somebody who treats them like crap? Like, who wants to do that?
We love it. We love it. I don't, you know.
I don't understand that.
I don't, because the State of the Union thing, it was a bunch of lies, blasphemy. You know, he targeted unrealistic expectations. And it's almost kind of like similar to a lot of other State of the Unions, but because he's lied so much in public that you just, you know, it was a cat and mouse game. You know, it was just kind of like you're waiting for something real to come out of his mouth and it never comes out. But again, if people had such distaste for the president the way they say they do, why are you even sitting there in the room to show your face in that area. You should have just walked out and just show, well, you know what, this is how we're feeling about things that he said. This is how we're feeling about what he's done to America. And not saying he's done, because America has always been racist, and I don't think it's ever going to stop being racist. But what he's done is he's notified everybody, oh yeah, by the way, racism is still here. Just to be honest, it ain't never went nowhere. So I think that because of bringing that to the forefront, why do we stick around to hear the madness that he's speaking?
I do think he's been pretty honest as a president.
Really?
Well, he like, I don't like none of these niggas. He don't change that.
But he ain't never said none of you niggers yet.
I'm being sarcastic. But he has this stuff like, hey, if you ride with us, you ride with us. He don't sit up there and like, I'm going to invite you to the White House and we going to drink some beer together. He don't do that. He's very clear. And so if you have to roll with him, that's why when Omarosa got kicked out, didn't nobody really care because she had to sign on for that.
Yeah.
She don't get to be a victim. She rolled with this dude.
Yeah.
It's kind of like being in a clique and you get kicked out,
Yeah.
and then you can't be like mad at the person because you was rolling with them. They was doing their dirt, so you don't get the clock out.
like Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Right. So
now you snitching because it got hot.
Right. So here's my thing. Do you think black politicians help black people?
No.
Why not, baby?
Symbolically, I think black politicians are more symbolic than anything else. The efforts that we have are very limited. I don't think that we stretch the way we should. I don't think we're as courageous as they should be. I think they kind of move in the angle of, I'm a black politician, but I serve the people, and I get that. But I'm a black man, and I serve the people, but I'm race first. And everybody adopts that. And, it's just we have to say it. They just do it. You know what I mean? The Asians just do it. I was driving through Freeport, as I told you, on my hunt in my area to go get some food. And I know there's a lot of great restaurants, not knocking what's going on in Sacramento for black restaurants, because they are. I've dined at it. But I'm in my area. I'm in my area of Freeport, the Green Haven area. I don't want to go anywhere else but my area, right? I drove all down the street, and all I saw was Asian restaurant, Asian restaurant, Asian restaurant, Mexican restaurant, Mexican restaurant. And I just shook my head and I was like, wow, we can't even control our own narrative when it comes to dining. So if we can't control our narrative when it comes to dining, we can't control our narrative when it comes to education, we can't control our narrative when it comes to businesses, we can't control our narrative on the basic needs that people are, how do you believe that politicians are going to do that when politics is based on corporations and based on money? Because I have to be able to say, I need you to push my agenda, but here's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you like $10,000 or $50,000 to push your campaign. So make sure that my campaign is being pushed. And on top of that, where are the black lobbyists? You know what I'm saying? Let's forget about the political figures. Where are the black lobbyists that have a black idea, not a white intention? So you have, I'm just saying.
Say that again.
Black idea, white intention. Let's just be honest, though, right? Because that's just the reality that we live in. We don't have certain players in position to even force the hand of black politicians because our base is not strong enough. And the base that we do have, they all line up with the same BS. Negroes don't talk nothing about reparations. You never hear political Negroes talk about no reparations. A white woman who what's her name? I don't even know.
I can't remember her name. I can't remember her name.
But she's going for president. She said, I guess she's going to be one of the 400 folks that's actually
460.
opted. 460, right? That's opted for president. And she basically said it, I believe black people deserve reparations. And I'm like, but now, the Negro don't ever say it. And when Bernie Sanders was asked for it, because that was the Negroes saving Jesus at the particular time,
that's true.
He was basically like, it's impossible for us to have it. And I don't want to hear about impossible.
On Israel right now.
Man, get out of here. I don't want to hear about impossible. I want to hear about things to move us forward. And I don't think black people, black politicians do that. And just one last piece, Queen. Okay. When you look at black politicians, look at all the places that black politicians are in major power that have a major black base. Tell me how they are thriving.
Give me some examples. So let's just be honest.
Let's look at Detroit.
Okay.
Let's look at Detroit.
Okay.
Kwame Kilpatrick, right? What happened with that Negro? As soon as he started playing with white money and started getting a little bit too fancy, they offed that Negro, and you got Asians coming in there taking over Detroit. Detroit is not even black. You know what I'm saying? So one of my queen sisters from Detroit that I'm definitely going to have on our show at one particular time, she's going to break down what black Detroit used to look like and now what gentrified Detroit used to look like. I'm going to talk about the Kevin Johnson brother over here in Sacramento. Yeah, yeah, Negroes. I'm gonna talk about that.
How did Kevin Johnson do?
Well, I'm just saying what I'm saying, though. I mean, we had a gentrified. Just being honest. We had a gentrified Oak Park. And that nigga was from Oak Park. He bought land. He had his buddies doing what they needed to do, but he didn't create a idea for black people in general to sit there and say, this is what's happening. This was what's going down. He was worried about himself, his legacy, getting that arena in. So he got the arena, and then he has a whole bunch of other sexual allegations.
Wait a minute, Barry. He had the indivisible meetings. Now, we got black people together to do what we love to do most. We love to talk. So what came out of the talk? Because he had, those was important Negroes who had state jobs, who had businesses. They was together, the indivisible. So with that, indivisibles for all, right? What did they come out of the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah.
What, Barry, did come out of that?
Great speakers and a whole bunch of hot air and the idea of what it could look like, but not the application. See, here's the funny part about the Negroes. We started this thing.
You said the Negroes?
2014, right? And had this idea, Sankofa, shout out to brother Raw, James, Queen Shona, Queen Dana, and there's so many other folks, brother Nasir. You know, we had this co-op, brother Jay. There's so many other folks that was a part of this co-op to think about what would it be if we had like an African marketplace, like a flea market. That is a consistent base for black economics, a start-in where you can have black entrepreneurs come in and trade, barter, sell product to the masses.
Like an African market.
Like an African market.
Right on.
Not African-American market, but African marketplace. Do you think that came back from a political head?
That didn't come out the indivisible meeting.
Come on, Queen. You get what I'm saying? That can come out no indivisible meeting. It was a communal idea that we came up with, and everybody executed the idea and the plan and branded it. And now we're in 4 years. That didn't come out of the indivisible. What came out of indivisible was a lot of individual ideas and thoughts where the individuals who already were making money are going to continue to make money, and those who were in pocket were going to be in pocket and are going to get what they need to get. It didn't help a community overall.
So Barry, it brought me back to one of my questions that a lot of middle class Negroes answered with no real
black elites?
Can they help black people? Can black elitism, black middle class, bourgeoisie, whatever you want to call it this week, can they really help us? And historically, have they helped us?
They haven't and they can. They haven't and they can, but they won't, because now it's almost like when you were a kid growing up, for some of those young people that didn't identify with their blackness until later down in life, sometimes there was a group of kids that were a lot blacker, quote to say, than you. And some of the times the black kids were like, yo, you act too white. Get what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I get
and it might be because a black kid that they're saying act too white lived in a suburb, but he's still black, right? It's just I lived in the suburbs and you live in the hood. So now they're challenging, saying, well, you don't really understand my struggles or my stresses. So a lot of these black elitists that are some of the worst kind of Negroes to have, because they really believe that their shit don't stink. They really believe that they're better than.
And they know what's best for you.
Exactly. Well, they're talking about the neighborhoods that we should service, but they're still living into these nice big luxury houses and having tea with Dana and having coffee with John. So they don't identify with the neighborhoods that they're saying they're going to service. They don't identify with the needs that we need in our community. So they have the monies to push us forward, but they deny that because, one, they want to be in control. Two, that would get them screwed up with their base. Because if Whitey don't sit there and sign off and say, that's okay, you can do that, they're not going to do that, because then that becomes a strategic thing that they do, and now they're going to be ostracized out of that community and have to go back to the community where Negroes is all looking the same, no matter what your tax bracket is. And that's why boycotts worked back in the day compared to now, because it didn't matter if you were a ball player, it didn't matter if you was a doctor, it didn't matter if you was a lawyer. Negro, we were all in the same area, we were still the same Negro. Even though you thought, like I use an analogy, the ball player just scored 50 points in a game, and he comes to the all-white restaurant, and that white boy who just saw him, who was high in the stands, he wasn't on the floor, he was high in the stands cheering him on, said, wait a minute, JoJo, that was a great game, but you sit in the white area. You ain't supposed to be over here. You're supposed to be over there.
That's real talk.
And that's real talk. And that's the kind of power that white folks had back in the day, to where Negroes was going to say, we going to boycott the buses. Because every single Negro were exactly the same. It wasn't based on classism the way it is now. It was just based on racism, in a sense of, it don't matter if you're a rich Negro or a poor Negro, you still going to get it. And now it's different.
Is it possible for struggling, because I use the term struggling black folks, because that kind of speaks to something totally different. Do you think struggling black folks can speak for themselves? Do we have to have these translators who are ineffective talking to white people? Because sometimes I find that white people just rather talk to that real and sometimes, because they get so tired of seeing a mirror of them in chocolate. It just gets like,
say
Negro,
that
that's
one more-
me.
say that one more
white
time.
people don't like,
No, mirror and chocolate?
yeah, they don't like seeing they don't like talk to a mirror of themselves in chocolate.
Wow, that's gangsta. I like that.
That's kind of like, dude, I already know you, Negro, sit down. White people, they like authenticity. They like dealing with the real deal. They don't go get fake African masks. They go to Africa, go into Congo, watch the person cut the tree down and buy that shit.
They don't get it from Taiwan.
Yeah,
at
and
the
they don't
corner
get it
store.
from Ross. I mean, I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? They like real stuff. So with that being said, do you think struggling black folks who understand where we've been and our whole, do you think they're capable of leading themselves? Or do we have to have a spokesperson?
I think that they are, but are they willing? That's kind of the biggest issue.
Okay,
Because
right
once
on.
you struggle, and once this is all you know, it's kind of hard for you to break out of that cycle, right? It was hard for me. Like, I was a hustler from 14 years of age, and it took me to like my 30s to be able to finally say no more, and to kind of do the things that I'm doing, right?
Right on.
So it's always kind of like getting a person off of dope, right? Getting them off of drugs, and what's the alternative of the dude being a 15-year drug abuser? What's your alternative?
Right.
So the alternative for these folks is going to be, I can speak my truth, but I still have my same struggle. So is the option that I'm going to be a part of the changing, where I'm going to get a check because I'm here now being a voice, or I'm just going to be the voice, you utilize me and then tell me to go my way, and I go back to the same neighborhood? Because a lot of the reasons why some of our kids, I believe, that we work with, why some of the work is ineffective at times, it's because those kids go back to the same household that we're washing them from. Right? So we get the kids, we wash them, we get them right, we give them love, we give them support, and then they go back to that same household that they're not getting love, that they're not getting washed, they're not being fed, they're not getting supported, and they come back and we have to do it all over again. Yeah. So if the environment doesn't change, it's hard for the people in the environment to change. So I believe we need more folks to talk the real and speak upon the struggle from authentic part. But I don't think we clearly need folks who are at the top of the echelons to speak without engaging with those folks in the struggle.
We need more planners. Because you're never going to get to see the seeds of your work. I see stuff that people I've helped and didn't even know I was impactful on. I'm like, I just thought you was in the back sleep.
Yeah.
But it's all good. It's like planting them seeds. I mean, of course, you're washing them off.
But see,
planting them seeds.
Planting the seeds is one
work.
thing. Yes, planting the seed is one thing, but watering is a whole other thing.
No, I get it. But usually, and I agree with you, but usually you just never get to see what you really planted, because water comes from different places. That's why roses can grow through concrete. And then because they get mounds of water, it's because it's like they get it's like you talk to the fight in them.
Wow.
And I think people hate when we talk to the fight in them.
Yeah.
Brother Timothy said there are enough speaking from the struggle, but there are plenty crying.
Ooh, shouts out to my brother T. That's wild.
Yo, that was.
You think? I don't. But see, when he says that, I believe they're speaking, but they're not speaking in the right place. Because you can always dial in and go on social media, and everybody got a rant. Right. But who are you talking to discuss the struggle? One thing about me, and folks got to understand about, I think, the art of war, is you have to talk and negotiate with your enemy some point, some way. Negroes want to just destroy, and what I saw from the Negro, we are not ready for true revolution. 35 days of partial government shutdown, y'all Negroes show me you are not ready. So I don't want to hear all this rah-rah, shut down the government, and I ain't going to even say that as well, because we say shut down the system, what is our alternative? So what I'm saying is, shutting something down, we have to be prepared to create it. And if we're not ready to create it, we got to go sit down and talking to the enemy or talking to these folks ain't saying we selling out. It's negotiating and seeing where we're at right now. Okay, are we over here? Okay, we still got to go here because every resource that black people need, they own. They have. You and I can't get a building without going through what? All of the state and local parameters of government. We can't just sit there and see an abandoned house and start working on it. We can, but then when somebody knock on the door, right? I'm saying when somebody knock on the door, and I'm like, oh, Mama Rowe, you know what I'm saying? What, Brother Barry? My laptops is in there getting all this. They ain't gonna give us no time. So it's like Nichols be having these weird. And it don't get me wrong.
No, I get you.
But you gotta look at history when Move did it.
Yeah.
You gotta look at history.
Yeah.
1983, the Move movement in Philly. You know about that, Queen.
I know about that.
When Nichols said we ain't gonna go through those lines, West Philadelphia got bombed out. And do your history on that. That is in 1983. That ain't in 1963. That ain't in 1940. That ain't in the 1800s. That was in 1983. So when you think about when Nichols say, okay, we're just going to abandon some of the ways of being tactical because being strategic is important for us moving forward because we don't have enough to maintain in the war. We're going into gunfights with knives and we're going to gunfights without enough ammunition.
We're going to gunfights with talking. Like, you know,
well,
I agree, but you know what I mean. So that brings me to this, Barry, reparations.
Ooh,
reparations, and
I need them.
Yeah, reparations. Do you think that's realistic, Barry? I mean, do you think we're like some people were mad at the white woman. This is how you can tell how crazy we really is. We gonna debate this woman. We ain't gonna ever get it. My thing is like, I ain't even thinking we gonna get it, but at least because some of us don't even mention our ancestors. We try to erase them every chance we get. I'm mixed with this. I'm part this. Dude, you are a Negro. You're a descendant of enslaved people who were born here to America against their will. What is the shame in that? So you do your job to erase, but if they was giving out reparations checks, you Negroes will try to be as black as you can.
Right there.
But what do you think about this reparation? I think we deserve it, straight up.
Definitely. I will never ever sit there and say that we don't and we can't and we shouldn't. That's some slave talk right there. That's not boss talk. That's slave talk. Because when you sit there and realize that we have given free labor, our ancestors have given free labor, terror, genocide, and this is not back in the days. This is a continuation. Like currently, you have to ask yourself if everybody else got paid, Jews, Indians, Irish, anybody that had some certain thing that happened, whether it was in America or out of America, and for the simple fact, the British got paid $4.3 billion to for the fact that slavery was abolished. So they got reparations for the enslavement being over. You're trying to tell me that Haynes don't owe us a check? You don't try to tell me that Marlboro don't owe us a check, Newport don't owe us a check, and I'm talking about tobacco. Yeah, gold. I'm talking about tobacco industry. I'm talking about cotton industry. You don't think that we are deserving of a check? We are. One thing Khadijah said, we can't. Okay. Queen, it's not about. See, this is what I'm saying. Don't get it misconstrued about not negotiating. I want to answer that before we go into the
okay, right on.
Before we go deeper into the reparations. Because I want to get your piece on it too.
I think we can do it all, but that's just...
I know, and then Khadijah makes a great point, but at the same time, sis, the thing about it is when folks hold your resources, they got them.
You gotta come late. You gotta come.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing we can do unless we're ready to die. And Negroes are not willing to die. And if you die, it's what is it going to be? Just going to be another martyr, and it's going to be continuation of the same old thing. You have to be able to. And when I say negotiation, it's not negotiating in a sense where, exactly. You're not. You tell me whatever. No, you're basically giving them hell and letting them know this is how it's supposed to be. Now, if they choose not to move and navigate, well, you got to be a Negro that makes a stance and have integrity, say, I'm not moving that way. The unfortunate part, what I've seen, because I've been at some of these tables, I've watched these Negroes talk, I've watched how these Negroes have bowed down. I challenge the extreme norm that Negroes are just used to saying, okay, yes, yeah, oh yeah, I feel that. Well, we should do this. I'm more radicalized when I am talking my negotiations because I know what the extreme thing is that we need. And the reality of it, just our mayor right now, considering what it is, he's doing now. I told this dude before he became mayor and before he knew I was a somebody that you're going to have to address the black people in such a way that you've never addressed us before, our economics, our education, and our well-being. And he thought I was a joke, and he didn't know I was Barry Axios, some of the new found leadership in the community, and I wasn't just the same old guys that you've chummied with. It's a kind of a Negro to speak a different kind of lens and conversation. He's learning that. You know what I'm saying? He's learning that. So it's a difference.
So let me say this, and I get that. I just feel like I look at Haiti. Best example I can give. In Haiti, they had different types of people leading. Toussaint was not like Dessalines.
Yeah.
Dessalines was a warrior. The dude was a general. And Dessalines was more like a spokesperson. You know, he went to France to make a negotiation. They locked him up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With Dessalines was like, I ain't coming in here. Even though they made them pay, they're still paying France.
Right now.
Yeah, still paying France. So I feel like, but in the real swing of things, you need them all at the table.
Yeah.
You just can't have a whole. It seems like in our community we have a whole bunch of yappers, but not a bunch of doers. Yeah. Like in the drug game, and I gotta bring that up because even though it was illegal, people was about that life. Like they believed in the product and what it could do for them. Mm-hmm. It's like we don't believe in who we are and what we can do for us. Mm-hmm. So we'll have everybody waiting to get their payday.
Yeah.
But we still don't have supermarkets in our communities. We still don't have banks. We still don't have hospitals.
Not at all.
You know what I'm saying? We still don't have any of that kind of stuff.
Not enough that can help us survive. Like I said, I saw you Negroes cards with 35 days of a partial shutdown. Remember, this was 35 days of a partial shutdown. And a lot of Negroes, quiet as kept, work for government agencies. They work for the government because that's sometimes, like if you get out of high school, you don't go to college, they say go work for the state. Go work for the city. That's kind of like you're in. You know what I mean?
Right on.
Go with your diploma, maybe a little bit of education, get in, you know someone, boom. My mom worked for the city, I'm going to work for the city. My dad worked for the government, I'm going to work for the government. So we've seen the hand being played, and they saw our hand being played. Right on. I heard more Negroes worried about their EBT and more Negroes worried about Section 8. And now, did it affect white people just as much? For sure. But the white base with the privilege and the power already have things already connected. You know what I'm saying? They already connected into what? I couldn't just sit there and go to other people.
That's why people with opioids are getting counseling, but black people on crack went to prison.
Oh, man, going to prison.
So it's just the same thing. Khadijah asked a question, do you think immigrant black Americans deserve reparations? And I'm going to say no. I mean, it depends. Like, if they gave reparations to Jamaica right now, I'm not Jamaican, but I ain't going to stop them from getting their money. I'm cool with that. Africans coming from the continent, that's a different situation. That's why they're thriving in a different way. You know, because they could go more than 36 days in the government shutdown because they come from countries where ain't no welfare state. Like, you don't get the, you know, you don't work, you don't eat.
Yeah.
In America, you could not work and still eat well.
Yes.
So, and it's not a bad thing. I think we have to have their backs. You know how I feel about black immigration. It's not the same as regular immigrants. I'm sorry to tell you, I work with so many black immigrants. It's just not the same. Like, that's a whole other topic. But I do think, hell, we're going to end up sharing it any goddamn way because that's what we do.
I think share and share alike. You know what I mean?
You know?
I think we pose a threat when all of the nations of black people, Jamaica, Africa, Haiti, you know, I know Puerto Rico hates to try to say that they with us, Cuba and DR. I know they trying to separate.
No,
sorry, y'all.
Cubans is our people.
Yeah, y'all are people, right?
The Dominican a little different.
Yeah, they weird, but they right there with Haiti. You know what I'm saying? But you know how they try to kind of code it. You couldn't tell them that. No, you can't tell them that.
You can't tell
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I agree. I'm talking about in terms of reparations. Yes. Like, because those people still come here and get a whole other start. That people who are descended from enslaved Africans, they don't even get that part. Like, I'm not trying to be. I have a lot of chosen extended family who are immigrants from other countries, and I vibe with them sometimes harder than I do with people who are descendants from the same people I'm descended from.
And the thing about it with the immigrants, it's easy for them to actually create their own.
Because they have a bond.
Not only that,
I ain't with you.
Yeah, and not only that, as I talked to one of my Asian friends, he said, Barry, it's not that I don't want to hire black people. It's a language barrier. So when I come
It ain't no language where they're collecting that money though.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, when I come over here, right, it's like the immigrants, they can't get certain jobs. Like he said, I couldn't get certain jobs because of my language barrier. I couldn't speak to certain kind of English, so I had to create my own. And that's what a lot of immigrants, when they come down, they're like, yo, this ain't making no sense to me. So I have a large population of immigrants, just like say in New York. You got Haitians all over the place, right?
Yes, you do.
I can open up a restaurant that makes sense, that's geared to my people, my food, my culture that they identify with. Where out here, it's different. You couldn't just come here to California and just pop something up like that because you don't have a base that's going to support it. So I think that those are the kind of things.
And we have to deal with the other part. This is global. The anti-blackness is real.
Ooh.
The anti-blackness is so real. And even in the Asian community, they have people called Laotians. Tell me the last time you seen one. Sometimes they look like black people. They're very dark. Only thing sometimes their hair is straight. Tell me where you see them in the front counter in any Asian business. I'll wait. Let's look at the Indians from India. Okay, hold on. Let's not go. That's what about the Indians? Come on, they have a product called Light and Lovely. Now you clearly they got that from black ones. We had Dark and Lovely. They got Light and Lovely. Yeah. That's the bleaching cream. Yeah. So we can go to every group, and you'll see the anti-blackness.
And you know the funny thing about it? And we do it to ourselves because I believe that Negroes are anti-black to themselves.
Oh, now I ain't even talk about BET, but I ain't go there on the black. Hey, I watched this film, y'all. It's a series, docu-series. Khadijah, you gotta watch it on Netflix. It's called Black Earth Rising. Everybody in there is real. I mean, they have white people. They talk about Rwanda, whatever. But all of the characters in there, like the black ones, are real black people. You're not gonna ever see a black director put all black people like that, except for Black Panther. No, I'm saying where everybody had real, like you get the guess if this person with us or not.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? And we know that's an anti-blackness. That's why I stopped watching BET back in the day.
Yeah, okay.
That's why I don't watch a Tyler Perry movie. Tyler Perry don't care. I ain't getting his pockets. But I get tired of him playing into the colorism that exists in the black community. I get tired of him making the light girl be the successful one and the dark one be struggling. Tyler, I don't come from that, boo-boo. Yeah. I don't.
Or you know the funny thing about it when I talk about this 28 days of supporting black restaurants? Why did I go to the black restaurant and it was all Mexican and white staff? Asian.
Now that's a whole other topic.
You know what I'm talking about? Let
me tell you something, man. It's a whole other topic. Now here's the thing. I'm not saying that's not anti-black, but sometimes hiring black folk. And we kind of come to work when we want to, and we got 50 million excuses. And you know the work ethic. Though I come from people who have the work ethic. My mom was old school. Go to work 5 minutes early, leave 5 minutes late when it's time to get off. You don't look at the clock like 5 o'clock. Bam! You leaving at like 5:10, 5:15. You getting to work. Supposed to be working at 8. You there at like 7:45. That's the people I come from. My parents hated CP time. But everybody have it. Indian people got it. Everybody got it. But you don't get to see it like the way we see it. Because we live with black folks.
I got on, but we're marked on it, and we're stereotyped like that, right? Just like anything else, we're stereotyped that black people are the ones that are mostly on welfare, and that's not true. That's not a fact.
The whole U.S. Senate is on welfare.
You know what I mean? So it's these things like the anti-blackness, you know what I'm saying, these reparations, and when we talk about these different things, and we're being very honest, I mean, some of the stuff is funny, but it's a reality.
That's true.
Why is it that I walked into this restaurant and there was no black staff? And why is it that you're saying that some type of our hustle is a little bit different and we lack thereof?
With each other.
Because, I mean, we're very complacent in where we're at right now. We're a very complacent community because everything that has been defined for us, everything that has been set up by us, for us, has been lined up for us, is for us just to walk this narrow road. And as long as you do the best you could possibly do for everybody else except your own, you'll be okay. And that's why
we are in this position.
The football players and the basketball players will never have their own league because they don't understand the value of control, power, and ownership. Now, do they have some more control in basketball readily than in football? For sure. But when I talk about ownership is having a place to where we're just not going to just go to the union and strike and say we want more money. If there's something socially incorrect happening that affects us, because we have black children and we used to be black boys and black women once upon a time before we got to this high echelons where everybody is praising us, we gonna shut y'all down so we can figure this out. And Negroes don't got that shutdown power. And that's why the white folks wanted us to integrate so bad, because that integration allowed us to not have that power to be able to say, we think we're gonna shut y'all down today. We think we're gonna not do, no one's gonna go over there
Why
anymore.
do you think, and I get that, I really don't think white people really wanted us to integrate with them.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. I think if you really look at the history, they did all, that's why they sick dogs, they did all kind of god-awful shit to us.
But I think it's...
However, I think we felt that we couldn't make it without them. Not the few Negroes who had Black Wall Street. I totally get. Some of us is going, like right now, some of us are trying to hold it down and support each other. Mm-hmm. So we've always had that. But I just feel like some of us feel like we don't even feel right unless there's a white person in the room.
I agree with that piece, but I also think that in that, right, that you said, that, I do believe that white folks, because you got to remember, Martin Luther King was at the table negotiating with the white folks. So the white
he was
folks
at the table with Coretta sleeping with white women. Like, come on.
No, they
don't
talk about that, Tree. They don't talk about that.
Adds to why you need white people. I think that's a part of the sickness, Barry. I
we'll talk about that.
I think the sickness is that you can tell that there's something wrong with black. Even other cultures say it. They don't say it to your face unless they think you're not really African American.
Yeah.
Because I've had that experience. But sometimes they'll be like, considering all the stuff that's happening, why would you want to be with these people?
I don't know.
And I just have to ask my own self, like, that's a good ass question. I don't have enough time to explain it to you because it's a real mind game.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about trauma-informed care, and we don't even know what really happened to our ancestors and how that's in your DNA.
And how deep it is. But I think but I still think that's the
To be like, it's so heavy. I don't even have no way of explaining that to people. You know what I'm saying? I don't have no way of explaining.
man.
How do you look at Black Wall Street, Barry, and every day still get up and try to do something with your own people? When you think about, I'm just using this, there was many Black Wall Streets, not just the one. When you think
we just talk about the one that got bombed on.
Yeah. So if Rosewood was real. When you think about black folks trying to stick together and people coming for you, how do you get up every day, you black man, and still continue to try to build a black nation or a black business or black support? What's in you that keep you doing that? That's how I know we the bomb, honestly.
Yeah, we definitely
I want like this, like but it's like, damn, I gotta figure a way around this.
And here's the thing about it. Going back to MLK. I think that it's still the simple...
MLK, man.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, I still honestly believe that MLK was negotiating for white folks as well as white folks was negotiating because they didn't want the independence from Negroes. Because if
that's why they bombed us all.
Yeah, so because if Negroes created, here's the thing about it: you know what they can do when they're in chains. If they are independent,
I agree with that.
My God. And they knew that. So it was like, we're
going to
integrate.
Though. He wasn't a negotiator.
He probably wasn't, but in a sense of integration, some white folks wanted to do it.
Black negotiators.
Some white folks wanted it, but the outside, just like for instance, Donald Trump is baiting these ignorant white folks to really believe his strategy is going to work. Why? Because there's some white folks that really are racist and don't like black people, and they don't know why. So he plays into that, right? But that doesn't mean that there's a whole bunch of other white folks that just can't stand this as well. They just want to keep the power. And it ain't got nothing to do with anything else.
Going up and down the NFL court.
Power and control. It's not like I don't like you. I think you're cool, but I'd rather be in control of the household and in the talent and being able to be in control of the money. And that's just kind of like how I feel and how I see it is. Because if you just look at it, and I always use this example real fast, an analogy. I just say to a couple, I said, do you guys have one car or two cars? And people usually say we have two cars. I said, why you have two cars? I say, well, because, you know, she may have to go somewhere, work schedules and stuff like that. I said, well, let me just break it down on a real easier level. I said, well, two cars means that both you guys have power to be able to say, if something goes wrong, I can leave, instead of being able to say, whoa, wait a minute. What about the car? And the girl's like, well, no, it's in my name. Well, I'm saying I made the payments. Well, that's your court of law says it's in my name, so it's legally my car. It don't matter if you made the payments. That's the reason why you have 2 cars in a household, because it allows people to have power to do whatever they need to do, not wait on someone or position themselves where they feel they have to need someone to let them have a car key. So now you got a car key dangling in my face and I got to act right. And that's the only reason why I push us to say have our own, because when we have our own, we can now negotiate in a way to where what are we bringing to the game? That's why they negotiate in all these unions with the players. When the players are asking for more money, they know at that time what? They need those players. That's when they know. They know, hey, I need you to make me money. So without you, I don't have a product. But we have not learned that it's okay to finally walk away from certain things when we've been in this domestic abuse relationship.
You got to know you in a domestic situation.
We don't.
Situation.
No, we're not.
Let me give you an example, Barry. So when you were talking, you know what I thought about? I thought about in the process of slavery, a breeding. So we know that black folks, they took
sex farms?
Yeah, but no.
Because niggas only want to talk about that,
but
right?
even to back it up, when you think about the process of going from America from Africa as an enslaved person, all these people dying, and you survive all this death. You get over here, and then they breed you with the strongest man, with the strongest woman. So if I created a superhuman, you best believe I want to be in control of it. So I have to get your mind.
Yes.
So we know we got these superhuman strengths, because I always say we like super Africans on steroids. When you thought about the process of how we were bred to be able to work from the sun up to sundown and take whoopings and lashings, and we're like the greatest Frankenstein you've ever seen in your life.
And that's what intimidates them.
You gotta get the mind though. But see, they know that part.
Yeah.
We don't know that part.
Yeah.
So if you see a little inkling of you getting ready to say, I want to do something for myself. Wait a minute, nigga. Wait a minute. I didn't say you could do that for yourself.
They're going to show you the white girl. They're going to show you, wait, why are you going? Like, wait, hold up. I mean, like, wait a minute. Come on, Sydney, come here. Come on, do this. That's why people like Bill Cosby and O.J. Simpson, they got too caught up in the white race. They got too caught up in the white trap. I looked at the brothers from Three the Hard Way. I'm in the 70s, baby. All of them. Jim Kelly, Fred Williamson, what's the other two? The Shaft brother and Jim Brown. Yeah. All of them at one point had white women. Every last one of them. Talking about Three the Hard Way, you're going to say the black folks from Poison Water, but you didn't even marry another one. Man, get the hell out of it. In that time frame. And see the thing about it. But I dated white girls back in my day. Right? And I've dated them.
Yeah, for years. So what I'm saying is though.
But I knew, to be honest with you, and I swear I said this. I said, I'm not going to have a baby by a white woman. And it was no knock on the white woman. I just said to myself, I wanted to have my daughter or my son, I had a daughter, thank goodness, to have an experience that I really could embrace where it wasn't a culture clash. Because we got to remember, in the 80s and still in the early 90s, it wasn't cool to be a Negro like that. We were still breaking ground on truly the white establishment accepting, mainstream, should I say, accepting our blackness.
I wouldn't even care who you married as long as you took care of your people first. Look, other races white people marry other races, but goddamn it, they people is first. And I think, no, I'm dead serious. And so I always think about that scene in Pocahontas when Pocahontas' daddy told her, hey, it's going to be a time you got to choose between John and your people. Of course, this chick chose John. But when it was time for John to choose, he chose England. There you go. That's all I got to tell you. I don't care who you love, honestly. And I ain't talking about this becoming all shades. I'm like, that's bullshit, too. But I'm saying that you can marry whoever you want to marry. Put your people first.
That's it.
I see that with Jews. I see Jews sometimes. Because I've been in their culture. They'll see some other people, and they say if the other Jewish people thinking that they're Arab, they're like, no. But they don't go get mad and say, well, we've been through a lot of stuff. I'm like, damn. I'm going to have to learn to do that with black people. I'll be like, this Negro, no, this fool didn't think I was, wait a minute, we've been through a lot of trauma. We got to remember that about our own people, but fight like them for hell. Yeah. I mean, fight like them to the end. Not always be trying to take our resources over to other people who wouldn't even give you a loan, dude.
Yeah, like that. And that becomes a problem. I really honestly believe. See what y'all doing to my sister? You damn silly nigga.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's like, because my thing, I don't care who you love. I don't care if brothers went and had 50 babies with white women. Yeah. Take care of we have too many black athletes and entertainers for the ghetto to look the way it looks.
No, most definitely. And
that's too many.
And that's why I really place the blame on ourselves more than anybody else. Because if we ain't got the right sense to say that they done gave us a bag, Because our athletic prowess, our talents, whether it's entertainment or our talents to be able to build and create, being creators of this world, the civilization, right? We got to remember, we are the creators of civilization. The slaves weren't, they didn't go to Africa to pick up slaves. They went to Africa to pick up architects. They went up to Africa to pick up teachers. You know what I'm saying? Builders. They didn't go over there and say some dumb Negroes, right? Yeah. Like, we finna go in and pick some of these lazy Negroes. No, they picked up builders so they can build over here. That was what the execution of, and that's how we, as black people, when we're talking about black history, let's reverse the psychology of talking about what this black history really means and not just educating ourselves on these ideas and fundamentals that Europeans have just pumped in our head for 1 month. It's like you talk about you talk about Martin Luther King in your history book, and that's it. You talk about Negro, Johnny got to talk about, he gets to talk about Abraham Lincoln and how he slaved us, and then Jerome got to talk about how 100 black women got ostracized or got raped by the master, and kind of move on from that. What are the uplifting and empowering stories about black history in American history? There's none. So we can't take black history. We have to force ourselves to say, black history is good for a month, but all our history, 365, is important for a generation. And that's when we have to attack these schools who are ready to talk about LGBTQ rights and education. And I'm not to knock what they're doing.
I'm not knocking it either, but you don't get yours before mine.
Applaud, but
because we know that's white supremacy.
That's what I'm saying. But
how are we not push it through? Because white people pushed it through.
But how are we not pushing ours? And that's my thing.
Or teach your own.
Yes.
Or teach your own.
Yes.
We got too many knowledgeable, educated black folks for their kids not to know nothing about black history.
Yes.
Or black culture. Even in your own family. Who were the great people in your family?
Yeah, teach that. Teach that year round. It cannot be a thing that's only a month. So shouts out to Zakara. I seen her. Shout out to daughter. Because shouts out to her for doing the West to West, with the Saturday school. Just
22 and 21 and 23-year-old take 23 black folks to Africa. Y'all, come on.
But you know what also is? That narrative, that motivation comes from the teaching she's gotten from elders and mentors and fathers that surrounded her, that gave her the platform as well as the black blueprints to say, this is kind of what my mission is. Because I remember when she was talking to me, she said, Dad, I'm trying to find the lane of what I can do. Because I don't want to do what Mama Ro do. I don't want to do what I want to do something different. And then when she came to me and said, this is kind of what I'm doing, because she's been going to Ghana and she's been getting attached to her culture out there. She said, this is what I want to do. I said, girl, that is powerful. Find what your lane is and bring it back. But see, this is what the wrong problem with our people is. One, everyone's crowded in the same lane. So it's a traffic jam. Two, when Negroes go outside the lane, everybody wants to duplicate it or not support it. Three, we will just abandon ship once we disagree with certain fundamentals.
I agree. That's what we should talk about next week, Barry. I think next week when we on here, we should really talk about, let's really try to talk about some of the things we think hold black people back and how do we work through those barriers. Because I think we don't get a chance to do that.
Not at all.
I think we don't get a chance to say, hey, these are some of the things. And everything has a history to it, but how do we work through that? So we don't be repeating the same thing they did in the 80s and in the 60s. And then, because we're on, I hate a rerun in life. I don't mind watching reruns on TV, but I can't stand a rerun like, didn't we do this 20 years ago?
And we really on rerun right now. We definitely
on a big rerun.
No, because here's the thing about it.
Short-term memory.
Negroes really believe that they did something, they're doing something different compared to what the revolutionary soldiers back in the day before did. You know what I'm talking about? Like niggas was really thinking they're doing something. I ain't seen none of you niggas really move and navigate like Marcus Garvey. Let's be honest. Stop it. And then again, why are we allowing folks who have because now black history has been incorporated to a multicultural, or not only that, but a cash cow for Europeans. Why? Because I saw a Black History Month sweatshirt in a Walmart. So now, because we've raised our level of blackness, right? You know what I'm saying? They have been figured out a way to capitalize on without us containing and controlling the capital.
And that's why we got to start practicing like, I'm not buying that from you. Quick story. Oakland. Before there was a Chinatown in Oakland, all those Asian people went over to Frisco and shot what they owned and came back until they were able to build their own in Oakland. I remember that distinctly. Now they can walk across the street in Oakland in their section like this.
The whole
They don't
section.
have to work. They don't have to do the way we do.
And here's the cool thing. There's a Chinatown in every.
They have Japantown, Chinatown.
They got every. There's a
Koreatown,
Chinatown in every state. Every city and state in America, there's a Chinatown. You can go, you can ask them where Chinatown is, and you watch Flourishing Economics.
Yes.
You ask them where the Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard is,
in the
and
ghetto.
it's in the ghetto. You know what I'm saying? You got the it's in the ghetto. So that
But
to
we don't
me
own no business
gives, and then we don't have nothing of substance
Right.
in these neighborhoods.
Maybe a barbershop. Get your hair cut.
Queen, we're done with the barbershops. We're done with the beauty shop. I'm just saying, we got to do more because
We usually always have a barbershop at the funeral home.
Listen.
Now, because we're going to die and if we ain't die, we're going to get our hair done.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
You just being honest. You just being honest. But that becomes a thing to where it's like, and you know, we joking and we laughing about this stuff, but
That's
we want
true.
y'all to be
Laugh
very
people
be
crying,
serious
though. Real
about
talk.
this work that has to really be done. I mean, we got to start navigating about how do we associate and build with each other, even with the people that you don't want to build with, because a lot of folks that we watching and you know chapping in and see what we had to say, a lot of them will kind of kind of analyze it, but a lot of y'all folks who you do listen, some of y'all are holding us back because you have this pettiness about yourselves to where, one, you believe that your way is the only way, and two, you believe that you're the only person that can fix the problems of black people, and three, just being honest, you think that if we don't do it this way and that you don't pay attention to history that has been repeated itself or has given us a blueprint to do it, there ain't no other way. And that becomes problematic. So it's like, stop ranting on social media. Pick up the phone and talk to people so we can strategize in a real way. Because strategy
real
can't just
family,
come. I mean, the strategy can't come from social media
that's real family,
on every aspect, and we giving the enemy all of our play.
Yeah.
And so what's our play after the fact? And then at the same time, in order to destroy, we must build. So we must build before we destroy. And I believe that concept needs to be the reality that we walk in. Build it before we destroy it. Period.
Right on. Barry, that was a great wrap up, dude. We get ready to rip us up out of here. I mean, I love this. I love this. Y'all know I like to build. And you know what I love about this is that I think we have to start the conversation.
Yeah.
I think we have to. I don't mind conversation. I mean, I listen to a lot of stuff while I'm working. I just feel like we got to talk about. I think we forget. See, I think also too, Barry, that we have different ideas of family. I'm from old school. If somebody really your peeps, you call them. Like, we family. I don't do that fake generic, this is my peoples, and this is not my damn peoples. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's y'all, come on, y'all in the street, when somebody your folk, that means something. That means you don't talk crap about them to other people, because that's your folk.
Yeah.
I'm from old school. Somebody said, someone said something, let me get on the phone.
Yeah.
Now, what you say he said?
Yeah.
That's people like,
Yeah.
oh, what I meant to say was, that's family. So we got to get back to the basics of what does it mean to be fair. We're going to be each other's sister and brother. We got to walk in the world like that's what that means. Even though our stuff may be different, we ain't going to always agree. Hell, ain't nobody ever really agreed.
We don't agree all the time.
Right,
but we also said, let's put on something to build the power in the network.
Right on.
Shouts
right
out
on.
to Earth Mama Healing Network.
Thank you. This is Voices of the Youth right here. It's my brother. Y'all better get it. Don't get it twisted up in here. You may get twisted. Nah. All right, y'all. We out of here. We're going to see y'all next week.
Next week.
All right,
Peace,
peace.
family.
I got to do better.